Welcome to Take Me to the Cloud, a place for business professionals to hear insights and best practices from industry experts that combine cloud systems, operations, supply chain, and finance.
Hi, folks. Welcome back. We are still here with our fellows from Slatwall. We are going to have another conversation around headless commerce and B2B e-commerce. Really interesting topics we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about legacy ERPs and modern day ERPs and what that might mean for headless commerce, while giving you an explanation of that approach and that common platform that the guys from Slatwall are going to talk. As we think about ERP and we think about the varying types, whether you're using sort of an SAP B1 or NetSuite's Cloud ERP, Financial Force, Intact, any of those, what's interesting is those tools were designed to be a repository for the transaction information. I have a sales order. I'm gonna track the sales order. I'm gonna have an item in there. I'm gonna sell it. I'm going to track it all the way through. I'm going to collect some money, and I'm going to report on it. I'm going to have a fancy profit and loss statement. I'm going to have a nice balance sheet, and I'll be able to provide the governing bodies the reports they need. What's missing today in this pandemic-fueled world that we're now evolving in as we transform our businesses and business models is this whole concept of commerce. Anything can be picked up at the curb almost. And as we start to think of these things, I'm going to turn it over to Dave from Slatwall here. And Dave, maybe just talk a little bit about headless. Like, what is headless and what does it mean? Help us understand that.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that, Wally. So headless, really comes down to leveraging APIs and providing a lot of flexibility, particularly when you're talking about user experience. On the front end. So again, this is the website. It's product display and filtering and functionality. It's ordering, my account areas, those self-service functions. So it's giving a lot of flexibility to that front end. That'll extend to things like promotions as well, and pricing, and a lot of the things that marketing is going to want to be able to do through that user experience. So that's a lot of what headless brings to the table. And like you said, those ERP systems, which we are, particularly when you're talking about distributors and manufacturers, but with our client base, we are integrating with ERP in every single project. And ERPs do what they do really, really well. Like you said, it's order processing, it's fulfillment, it's warehousing. But that headless approach can give you a lot more flexibility in your go-to-market, right, through that digital channel. And it can be, those can be multiple channels. Perhaps you're selling B2B and B2C, or perhaps in multiple regions of the world, or in different languages and different currencies. So you can run multiple heads, if you will, for each one of those markets. So there's a lot of flexibility that headless brings to the table from that perspective. But again, it's as we talked about in our previous conversation, one of the things you want to do is approach that in a really careful and strategic way. You don't have to do, you don't have to launch with three different sites, tackling three different channels with every single e-commerce function under the sun. There's ways to kickstart that program in a headless way, and perhaps only offering a small piece of functionality. But you could also, there's different levels in between there. You could do a full-blown, multi-market, multi-channel implementation for sure. But I think it's all, it comes down to, what's going to drive revenue, what's going to, create order processing efficiencies, and make that user experience and that digital channel more friendly to the buyer at the end of the day. So what comes down to it is a real importance in that integration and understanding how the e-commerce platform is going to work with the ERP. That integration is really important, and it's not typically a technical challenge necessarily because these APIs come into play. But Brad can talk a little bit about the actual workflow and how important that is, and understanding the workflow of that data back and forth is to a project like this, in order to leverage that headless approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the key pieces, sort of thinking about your the ERP setup that you have and your business and how that works is how does it play hand in hand with the website and potentially multiple websites and figuring all that out. And one of the things that we have a lot of conversations about, and I'm thinking of one example in particular is how does the customer get notified when things happen. And the way this one distributor works is that they take a lot of orders, and there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of changes. There's sort of on the job orders that come in, and when those orders flow through, they sort of know that they're going to take a while to produce and ship out. So if the changes happen, right? Well, customer wanted 5 of these, now they need 6, right? So sort of thinking about that integration, like in that case, normally the order gets placed and immediately you're going to get an order confirmation email, right, as a customer. Well, in this case, they're going to get notifications that come from the e-commerce side, but they're also going to get notifications from the ERP platform anytime the order is changing. So they're having to work out an order flow that makes sense in sort of a unique way. So what the sort of value in all of that is that both systems are passing data back and forth really well. They're really well integrated together, but they're sort of knowing their own role, right, and what they're going to do. Which system is managing the pricing, which system is managing the promotions. Another great use case is product images. It's always a challenge to get them, but when you're a distributor and you're getting those product images and thousands of them from the brands that you're selling, where do they live? Do they really need to be in the ERP? Do they need to be in a platform? Can you choose between the two, right? So there's a lot of sort of talking about planning, engineering, whatever word you want to use to sort of figure out how to get the best value out of both. And ideally, when you have that headless architecture that's designed around an API, it's flexible in that way. And I know you sort of think about the connecting to an ERP platform, right, Wally? And the last thing you probably want to do is sort of say, well, we want to get into e-commerce, but we definitely don't want to make huge investments on the ERP side right now, right? Tackle one challenge at a time.
Right.
Yeah, what I like about what you said is, Dave, you spelled out there's a quick way to get to this, there's a middle way to get to this, and there's a way for those people that are more sophisticated, we can deal with you too. So I like the way you delineated that. And Brad, I can't stress enough, it's not an all and everything. Customers have a finite amount of cash that they need to put toward these projects. Right. And I think it's the ongoing investment. And what I learned today from you, Dave, is that ongoing investment might be, we start with the first phase and get it up and running and start to transact, to your story earlier, which is, sometimes I just need to be able to transact. I just need to be able to run an order. Then all the way up to they want to be more sophisticated and they actually want to have more concepts and more ideas that are digitally friendly and with all the latest techniques. So I really liked that story as we start to think about it. I know for us here, what we find is, so I'll go in with someone who is running QuickBooks, and they're on, say, a front end of some kind of, a more economical front end, say $20 a month, and they put something together. They're struggling like crazy to tie out orders at the end of the month. They can't tie out their orders. They can't find their inventory. They're running tax reports, not out of their application in QuickBooks. They're running tax reports out of the front end, which was never designed really to be a tax engine. It was designed to charge the customer the right tax. but maybe not do the right governance reporting. So we're finding a lot of customers, although it took them no time to set up, they're really spending a lot of laborious activities reporting and doing all those things, Dave, or Brad, that you just finished talking about. So yeah, I think it's really good. I'll turn it over to you, Dave, in the last couple of sentences before we pass it to Kim.
Yeah, I think you were talking about really important concept here, and we talk about agile a lot in software development. This approach allows for a manufacturer or distributor to be agile in the way that they implement digital commerce. Right? It doesn't have to be a massive, really expensive project. You approach this in an agile way. You launch, you test, you see some success, and then you move on to the next priority. Right? What's going to deliver the biggest bang for the buck? And you do the same thing, over and over. You're constantly delivering new value for your customers. You're delivering value internally for operations, but being able to approach it in a really agile way, I think is a huge benefit to this approach as well.
Thanks, guys. This was a great discussion on the flexibility and functionality of headless e-commerce. Next time, tune in to hear about the challenges that typically accompany an e-commerce project. Thanks.
You've been listening to Take Me to the Cloud. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to be alerted of new episodes. For more information, visit withum.com.